CTV News with Ricardo, Veneza.
This strike will end when we get a collective agreement that works for all of you.
A turbulent start to the Air Canada strike, with the union defying a back-to-work order from Ottawa. Good evening. We begin tonight with a new line in the sand that appears to have already been crossed. Air Canada saying it would not go back to the bargaining table until its striking staff go back to work. Air Canada COO Mark Nasser says the airline can't work on an industry-leading deal while planes are grounded. That came after the union stressed it would not end its strike, even if it's unlawful. But tonight, the union says the two sides are, in fact, in talks as the company cancels more flights into Tuesday afternoon. CTV's Heather Wright reports on the tensions as the labor impasse takes a new detour.
For the third straight day, Air Canada flight attendants are on the pavement rather than in the skies, defying orders to return to work.
And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it.
The Canada Industrial Relations Board ordered the roughly 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants to return to work yesterday, after the federal jobs minister asked the Labour Board to intervene just hours into the strike.
When the government came in and tried to stop our strike 12 hours after we started, we decided that that was not enough to put pressure on Air Canada to come back to the table. That's all we want. Air Canada, come back to the table.
At issue, wages and unpaid work. Flight attendants are only paid for the hours they work in the air, which doesn't include boarding and other on-the-ground duties. The airline has offered a pay increase of 17.2% over 4 years, which the company's CEO calls an excellent offer.
That will result in our flight attendants being the best compensated flight attendants in Canada, bar none.
But the union says that increase doesn't account for inflation over the last decade.
Starting flight attendants now are making $1,900 a month in an area where rent is $2,000.
The job action has left roughly 500,000 passengers stranded, many unsure when they will be able to get home.
I'm supposed to start a job on Wednesday. That's not going to happen.
Today, the Prime Minister weighed in, calling the impasse disappointing.
I urge both parties to resolve this as quickly as possible, and the Minister will have more to say. Minister Hyde will have more to say later.
The union is challenging the back-to-work order in court, so it's unclear how much longer this strike might last. Some estimating it is costing the airline about $60 million a day. Heather Wright, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Meantime, federal jobs minister Patty Hajdu is launching a probe into allegations of unpaid work in the airline sector today.
I've also heard the allegations of unpaid work. It's unacceptable. Nobody should work for free in this country. In fact, we expect to get paid for the work that we perform. And that's why I've ordered a probe into the allegation of unpaid work in the airline sector. We will start this probe immediately, and if employers are exploiting loopholes in the Canada Labour Code, we'll close them. Nobody should be.
The union representing those striking employees argues that workers should be paid fairly for the duties they perform before flights take off. On Saturday, Hajdu asked the Industrial Relations Board to impose binding arbitration on the deadlocked parties. The board called the strike illegal. Hajdu again urged both sides to get back to the bargaining table to resolve the months-long dispute. And as we told you, it appears the two sides are, in fact, talking again. Well, the strike's impact has reached Windsor International Airport. As our Chris Campbell reports, a man stuck at YQG is trying to find a way to get his mother home from Lebanon and isn't finding much success.
Our budget is tight and we don't know what to do.
At Windsor International Airport, flights may look normal, but behind the check-in counters, Air Canada's flight attendant strike is leaving some travelers in limbo.
How long we can wait? We can wait like 10 days, 5 days, but I don't know when she will come back.
Mo Zugaib's mother has been stranded in Lebanon since Saturday when her flight to Montreal was suddenly cancelled. Now they're trying to get some answers and a way home.
So we were supposed to leave yesterday and land today, this morning, but we're now not scheduled to fly until Friday, landing on Saturday.
Others like Emily from England are stranded in Windsor, waiting for the strike to resolve.
Sure, it's fortunate in a way because we can spend more time with our family here. I think we're just lucky that we weren't on like a kind of like an all-inclusive or booking a hotel, because then it would be very difficult, and I think we'd be stressing a lot more than we are now.
It's a pretty fluid situation and dynamic, so check your connections, check where you're going, check the flight you're on, check all of your flight numbers to make sure that you know what's happening. And of course, obviously, if you're getting emails from the airline itself letting you know, that's also important.
Windsor International Airport President and CEO Mark Galvin says local flights aren't cancelled, but connecting passengers are feeling the effects. He urges everyone to keep checking their flight status as the situation can suddenly change.
Our phone's been ringing off the hook.
The president of Valente Travel, Al Valente, says it's been busy trying to keep up with the fluid situation, advising anyone caught up in the mix to not make any rash decisions.
This is just complete turmoil. That's all the word to describe it. It's a mess, but hopefully we'll get back to some normalcy in the next couple of days.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
And still ahead, a look at the broader impacts the strike could have to the airline industry as travelers look for flights to make their destinations. Job losses at Windsor Assembly. Stellantis has laid off about 100 workers at the plant due to what it calls volume adjustment. Unifor Local 444 says the plant has found itself overstaffed, and the union is trying to find jobs for those affected members. The plant is at the start of a 2-week summer shutdown. Now, earlier this year, Stellantis paused production of the electric Dodge Charger, citing U.S. tariffs and poor electric vehicle sales. And in London, an auto parts company is closing down, putting nearly 50 people out of work. Qualtech Seating Systems is expected to fully shut down by October 10th. The company supplies seats and other parts to the Chemie Bright Drop assembly plant in Ingersoll. General Motors has announced operations would be paused at Chemie back in April because of slower sales again. The factory is scheduled to resume production in October, but will be down to just one shift and fewer than a half of the previous workforce. And it was the trade war that was part of the focus for Premier Doug Ford in his trip to Ottawa today to meet with the Prime Minister. As CTV's Rachel Aiello reports, he's asking Mark Carney to cut red tape and taxes, hoping to ease the burden on businesses caught in the tariff wall put up by the White House.
What would you like to talk to Mark Carney about today?
Oh, we just have a lot of things.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford arrived on Parliament Hill today with lots to talk to Prime Minister Mark Carney about.
Well, we'll talk about the housing sector, we'll talk about steel, auto, new sectors of the economy, including artificial intelligence, what we're doing in terms of making Canada competitive.
It was their first face-to-face meeting since the latest round of trade talks with U.S. President Donald Trump fell apart.
We know President Trump's unpredictable. We have to find out what we need to do to make sure that we create the environment and conditions for companies from around the world to continue investing in Canada.
Yeah.
And we'll have that discussion.
I think we're working well together, but we've got more to do and get it done.
Both emerged from behind closed doors an hour later, saying they were on the same page.
Very good meeting with the Premier.
But they were non-committal about any immediate action that would put money back into businesses' bank accounts or ease regulatory burdens while they're still facing tariffs.
We had a great discussion. Nothing happens immediately in that room.
It remains murky where trade talks stand, but for his part, Ford has no plans to travel to Washington anytime soon.
When they need me, I'll be down there, giving my colleague Howard Lutnick a little poke.
Oh, do you think he needs one?
He needs a couple more pokes in it. Don't worry, I'll poke him.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc was in the room for the meeting, but left without answering reporters' questions about the state of negotiations with the Americans. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Now, the Ford government's new booze policies appear to be seeing more adjustments in the market. The beer store is shutting down 12 more stores, including the one in Harrow. The closures go into effect at the end of the business day on October 19th. The beer store in Ridgetown is also closing come September 14th, following the closure of 2 locations in Windsor. That was back in July. Now to Washington, where Donald Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky following a controversial peace summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in a bid to end Russia's war in Ukraine. Both leaders expressed hope that a path to peace is emerging. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
The Ukrainian president arrived at the White House dressed in a black suit instead of his usual military uniform. Donald Trump took notice.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Vladimir Zelensky also made sure he voiced his appreciation for the president's effort to end Russia's war on Ukraine.
Thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war.
But the devil is in the details, and Zelensky wants to make sure the plan Trump discussed with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska will respect Ukraine's sovereignty. Speaking with reporters, Trump said a deal can be worked out without a ceasefire.
We can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other.
On social media, Trump said on Sunday that Zelensky can end the war if it gives up Crimea and membership in NATO. Russia took over Crimea in 2014, and after 3.5 years of war, it controls almost all of the Donbas region in southeast Ukraine. Putin wants Ukraine to give up territory as a condition for peace.
When we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe.
To prevent Ukraine's interests from being subverted in a deal brokered by the U.S. and Russia, 7 European leaders from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, the European Union, and NATO's Secretary General traveled to Washington to stand with Zelensky to warn against trusting Putin and fight for security guarantees.
We're going to try and get a 3-party meeting, maybe as soon as we can.
Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
In Windsor, police say an initiative to crack down on crime in an area that generates high call volumes has proven very successful. But as our Bob Belichico reports, the Glengarry community is calling for more supports.
And we've seen a significant decrease in crime, which was our goal.
A year after launching a targeted public safety initiative in the Glengarry neighborhood, the Windsor Police Service reports the area has seen a dramatic shift, with crime dropping across the board. Check this. The year-over-year improvements, according to Windsor Police: crimes against people down 38%, crimes against property down 45%, drug crimes down 63%, calls for service down 14%, and the number of total arrests up by 33%. During the process, officials say relationships have been built with healthcare providers, social services agencies, and the Windsor Essex Community Housing Corporation.
And most importantly, I would argue with Windsor Police in building relationships with folks that live in our units and that live in our community. That preventative way of policing, I think, has really shown a lot of good results.
It was really helpful to allow residents to have that access to resources in real time and see change immediately.
Despite those efforts, residents in the area say there is still some work to do.
Police is working all night and the security too working all night, but still we're scared. So I'm calling government at least to help us to do something.
You're smoking a crack pipe right outside our front doors. I see this every single day.
Downtown City Councillor Ronaldo Agostino sympathizes with Glengarry residents and hopes to see more supports to tackle the broader mental health and addictions crisis.
The people that need the help the most, that I see on a day-to-day basis, that are just out there in the middle of the street doing things to themselves that no sane human being would do, right? And that's something we need to address.
Bob Belichico, CTV News.
Now in Essex, the BIA is warning businesses counterfeit cash is being used in the downtown. Some of the ways to identify fake bills include the texture, raised ink, and the serial number. If you spot any fakes, you're urged to contact police. Now, before we go to break, we want to show you this great snapshot that was captured east of Tilbury last week. Now, this was taken last Tuesday night around 11 by Barb Arsenault. You can see a massive bolt strike a turbine on the outskirts of town. Arsenault shared the photo in a local storm watchers group, and it turns out Windsor Essex is one of the premier spots to shoot lightning.
This area, Essex County, is one of the best. It's got the most lightning strikes in Canada per year. Just the way we are situated, sometimes lightning does sort of strike twice in the same place, even though we're told it doesn't. So in the rough area, you can see lightning, and you can set your camera up and sort of point in a general direction. But like anything, when you seem to point one direction, you get a nice big lightning bolt off to the left or right. So there's a bit of luck involved, but the more you're out there, the greater opportunity you have of shooting some lightning.
Yeah, fantastic shot. Great shot, Barb. Thanks for that. Well, after the break, Julie Atchison's going to join us with a look at the warm-up that's coming our way.
Some people are at high risk.
After the break, our Stephanie Mazzotti looks at why the threat from the sun may just be stronger than ever and what you can do to manage your risk of skin cancer. CTV meteorologist Julie Atchison joining us now for a check of the forecast. Julie, sunny, warm, but not uncomfortable today, hoping the good times roll into tomorrow.
Yes, well, unfortunately, we have a warm front coming in, and that'll bring some rainfall. But today was one of those days you wanted to bottle up, Ricardo, and make it last through the week. It was picture perfect. I like to call these days like Goldilocks days. Not too hot, not too cold, really perfect conditions. Our high 25 degrees, so coming in a couple degrees shy of 27, and 15 degrees our overnight low last night. It was great opening up the windows last night. I let that beautiful breeze in. Overnight, 16 to 17 degrees. We will start to see increasing amounts of cloud cover overnight, but still quite comfortable. Starting to see some showers in advance of our next area of low pressure, and that brings a chance for a little bit of rain to the area through the day Tuesday with the possibility of a thunderstorm. So things just getting organized. We've been under the influence of high pressure, so not allowing that cloud cover to even move in. With a little bit of moisture coming in tonight, watch for patchy fog. The area of low pressure, as you can see, will be driving towards the Great Lakes, and with it will come some rainfall. We get into the warm sector in the afternoon. That's where we see the instability. So you have that rising air and the warmth, and that can trigger some thunderstorms, especially as that cold front starts to come in. So we can't rule that out. If we get under a thunderstorm, we see a heavy downpour. Through the day, though, the rain should be fairly light, but expecting it to be steady, starting anytime after 10 a.m. and going to about 2 p.m. and then a break, and then the possibility of some thunderstorms. So through the day, 27 degrees. That'll be our forecast high. The wind shifting back to the south, and it will feel like the low 30s. Let's take you through the next 7. Chance of showers Wednesday, although I'm not expecting a whole lot in the way of measurable rainfall Wednesday. If you are sending the kids to camp or you have some outdoor plans, this week looks good, with the exception tomorrow we have some rain. We need it. So at this point, we'll take the rain. It's been extremely dry. Thursday, we're back to full sun. Friday, sunshine, 28 to 30 degrees. We'll hit 29 on Saturday under a mix of sun and cloud. A few showers around on Sunday. That's a big temperature change, so we will likely pick up some thunderstorms with the passage of this next cold front. And then a mix of sun and cloud on Monday, the high 24. Overnight lows creeping up a bit as well, so 17 to 19 degrees over the next couple of days. So some showers in the forecast for tomorrow, with the possibility of a few thunderstorms, and then the chance drops off as we head through midweek. Ricardo, back to you.
Okay, Julie, thank you. Well, new housing data show the pace of building in Canada is picking up, but not fast enough to meet the country's housing needs. CTV's Maria Saru reports from Prince Edward Island, where Canada's smallest province is punching above its weight.
Homes are taking shape across Charlottetown, construction crews working hard. For its size, PEI is building at roughly double the national rate, according to the newest numbers.
We're small, but we're very resilient. We like to get things done.
But like other provinces, the island can't keep up with demand or the pace needed to restore pre-pandemic affordability by 2035, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. In July, Canada's home building was 4% faster than in June, at about 294,000 homes per year. But that's still far from the CMHC's affordability benchmark of 430,000 to 480,000 home starts per year. This home I'm standing in is a work in progress, greenlit well before today. One of the reasons for the building bump is that pre-planned projects like this one are going ahead. But the National Housing Agency says that doesn't reflect current investor appetite. In fact, the CMHC is projecting a slowdown later this year.
We've been in a context where the economy has been quite uncertain. We've been facing geopolitical uncertainty as well.
While tariffs and higher costs are making homes harder to finance, the Construction Association of PEI's executive director says there are bigger challenges.
Shortage of skilled people will continue to be a problem, in the years to come.
So builders here say they need more help to turn frames into finished homes. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
Well, the TSX saw some small gains today, up 17 points, while the Dow dipped 34 and the Nasdaq added just 7 points. The Canadian dollar heading in the other direction as well, down just 0.01 of a cent. The rest at 72.42 cents U.S., so virtually unchanged. Gold down almost $5 an ounce, while oil is up 72 cents a barrel.
Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca.
More now on our top story tonight, which of course is the Air Canada strike gripping airports and travelers across the country. Now, travelers are scrambling to make new travel plans after the flight attendants strike at Air Canada threw airports into chaos. Now, CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin reports Plan B doesn't come cheap.
The search for an escape hatch from Air Canada has travelers looking for other means of transportation. But aboard planes, there is limited space, especially in peak summer season. And adding flights is not exactly a smooth ride for other carriers.
It's not like the TTC, that the subway goes down or the metro goes down and you can add a bunch of buses right away. It doesn't quite work that way. And it's for a safety perspective. The other thing is you have to be able to get the gates at the airports.
Still, Porter, Air Transat, and WestJet say they're looking at adding some flights on a few routes. In a statement, WestJet said that it is positioning larger aircraft onto key routes and working with airport partners, pilots, and cabin crew to add a limited number of extra flights to help accommodate guests. Air Transat says to respond to strong demand, it's also adding some flights and using larger aircraft on some transatlantic routes. But safety regulations, including the availability of flight crews and hours they can fly, limits scaling up. Add that all in, and the cost of a ticket isn't cheap.
Well, it's going to be pricey. That's just the way it's going to be. All airline pricing is based on demand. The demand was high to begin with.
Air Canada is hard to replace in the short run. It handles 43% of Canada's domestic market, 50 million passengers annually. Charter flights like those that fly out of this small airport here outside of Montreal may pick up business, but that won't be cheap. There's also Via and buses on some routes, and there's also the cost of rental cars, but that's going up too. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Well, we still have plenty of summer and sunny days left in the region, and that has the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit warning residents a sunburn isn't harmless. It can contribute to elevated risk of skin cancer. And as our Stephanie Mazzani reports, the threat from the sun is greater than it's been in years now.
UV that we receive is very different from the UV that we received 20 years ago.
The Windsor Essex County Health Unit's medical officer of health, Dr. Mehdi Alouche, says since the 1990s, the Earth's ozone layer, which acts as a natural sunscreen for the planet, is getting smaller and smaller. The result, greater exposure to ultraviolet radiation.
Not all people are in the same boat in terms of risk factors. Some people are at high risk. Children, adolescents, people with lighter skin color, lighter hair color.
Alouche says although the face, neck, chest, back, and legs are the most common areas to get skin cancer, it can also develop in your eyes, under your fingernails, on the palms of your hands, soles of your feet, inside the ear, and on the lips.
How we can prevent them, staying in the shade, putting sunscreen, don't go out during the maximum UV light, which is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and stay in the shade as much as possible.
Melanoma is one of the deadliest forms of cancer. In 2024, an estimated 11,300 Canadians were diagnosed with melanoma and 1,300 died from it. Alouche says there is, however, some good news.
Skin cancer is one of the most preventable cancer.
Stephanie Mazzani, CTV News.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Welcome back. Well, a Windsor nonprofit is looking to help make back-to-school shopping a little less daunting for families struggling to make ends meet.
People are really surprised that their kids are getting back-to-school running shoes, haircuts, things that they otherwise might not get or that they'd have to really stretch to figure out.
The first annual YQG Kids Back to School event provided supplies for more than 150 students today. From new shoes, class supplies, and even hygiene products, everything was free of charge. Donations helped supply these often costly items for students in underprivileged neighborhoods in our community. Organizers say the goal is to help kids start the year on the right foot.
This is something that is needed and necessary because by starting our kids off on the right foot and as they go back to school this September, it's really going to propel them into positivity. And that's the key. A lot of kids feel it's a drag to go back to school, especially if they don't have the right supplies or the right things that they need to start their school year off right.
Okay, Julie is back with a wrap of her 7-day forecast. And Julie, it sounds like we're trading some of this beautiful sunshine for maybe some more stormy weather.
Yes, we have some rain in the forecast for tomorrow, but we definitely need it. Some showers on the way. Possibility of a thunderstorm developing in the afternoon. The high 27, feeling like the low 30s. So you'll notice the humidity creeping back in with this warm front. Wednesday, slight chance for showers. The probability drops down to a 40% chance, so more like a mix of sun and cloud with the chance of a very isolated shower. Thursday, Friday, sunshine, 28 all the way up to 30 degrees to kick off the weekend. And Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud, the high at 29. So a little bit of rain in the forecast for your Tuesday. Back to you.
Okay, Julie, thank you. Yeah, we do need some rain in the region, folks. Well, finally for us tonight, a Bell River man wanted a cigar and ended up $5 million richer after buying a lucky lotto ticket. David McDonald says he played the ticket at the M&R Country Store in Windsor on County Road 42 there. And when he realized he had won, he says his legs turned to jelly. He says he's been playing the lottery now since he was 19 years old. McDonald says his wife asked if the lotto win meant she could retire. Well, he plans to take a dream trip around England, Scotland, and Ireland with his winnings. And I think, you know, I'm no financial planner, but $5 million, I think that'll do the trick. Enjoy retirement. That is our time tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6. Until then, I'm Ricardo, Veneza, and for everyone here at CTV on both sides of the camera, have a great night.